Hello and welcome to our ninth video for week 4 for CIS 224 Data and Information course. Last video we talked about union, and in my attempt to keep these videos bite-sized, I was unable to put in one last example that I wanted to talk, real-life example that we could talk about where you would use union to pull in different to union different selects. So if we had 3 tables, truck roll table, disconnect table, and order table, and they have different reason codes or different reasons are used within those different tables to describe something. So let's say the truck roll was for your technicians that go out to the and actually do the installation at somebody's place of business or residence. And they have reasons codes. So what was the reason that the truck went out there for? New install, trouble call. Disconnect. So if we have Comcast, we have several different departments at our call centers. So one of them may have that handles disconnects, and it has its own reason codes. Why did the customer? They're moving. They just want to leave Comcast. However, that would work out. And then another department might have orders. They take orders. So what was the reason for the order? Was it an upgrade? Was it a side grade? Did they want to add HBO, or they wanted to get rid of HBO and add Showtime, and that would be a side grade. So if these were 3 different tables and we wanted to have a list, we wanted to know just all the reasons that our different departments do something. We might pull something like this. So this would be, if you think of it as select statement, we would do select reason code and description from the truck roll table. We would union that with a select statement that was select reason code and description from the disconnect table. Union that to select reason code description from the order table, and then that would pull all of our description. Just keep in mind, each one of these fields on these different tables would have to be the same data type, and they'd have to be the same name as they went across. Same amount of columns pulled from each table. The column names need to be the same, and the data types need to be the same. Any formatting that we did in the first one would be the one that would be shown up in our table or in our results. Anything we did in the other 2 would not show up in our results. So I just wanted to give you that example, or similar to a real life. This is something that we do pull this type of information when we have to join different tables and get this type of information. That would be something that we would use a union for. So let's move on and talk about case statements. This is a very useful tool, something that we do a lot that I see in our SQL statements. Again, Access handles a little differently, so we'll look at how ANSI SQL would write it, and then we'll look at how Access would handle it. But it's a very important tool that you can use in your SQL statement that allows you to meet the needs of your users. So a lot of times we'll get questions of, has a customer had a truck roll within 30 days, yes or no? So they want a column that literally says truck roll 30 days, yes or no. Well, we'll have it, we can set up a case statement that says when this column is populated, put yes. When it's not, put no. And we can do that for many things. I mean, the possibilities are almost endless as you go through it. Some things to know about the case statement. Another advantage of them is that they help performance with your SQL statement. So because your SQL statement does a lot of things in its select, all it has to do is pull the information once. So it pulls the table information, and then it can look at each one of it, each of the columns to match it up. So if it's already looking at the table and already pulling the information for whatever condition you put in your where clause, it's already looking at those customers, those students, those orders, and it only has to look at them once, and it can do your case statements. you're able to reference multiple columns and do multiple operators. You can do equal, greater than, etc. in your case statements. So it's a very good tool to do multiple things at once while not impacting the performance of your SQL statement on the database engine. So it's something that we use quite a bit. So there are two forms for case statements. There's valued and there's search. So let's take a look at the two as we go. There's valued, which is basically true or false. So if this happens, if this field is populated, put yes for truck rolls within 30 days. If it's not, put no. It's basically an else. And then you can put multiple else in there. So you could put, if the date range is 30 days, it was less than 7 days from the day, you could put it was done 7 days ago, it was done 14 days ago. You could actually put those in the column. So if you wanted to get even more granular with the column, you would be able to say exactly how many days it was ago that the event happened. So it starts with the statement and it runs down in order. It looks for the very first true statement. When it reaches that, it stops. So you want to make sure when you do a case statement that you don't have multiple statements where the first one could be true and the third one could be true on the same type of record, because it's going to stop at the first one and say, yep, I'm done, true. And it won't, or will put whatever condition or whatever thing you'd like to put in there first, and it would never reach the third one. So you want to make sure that that is. If it doesn't, if it goes all the way through the case statements and can't find any that are true, it puts the else in there. And then you end case statements with an end clause. So let's take a look for how it would look in ANSI SQL. So here we're looking at the employee table, pulling department number, salary, and then we're doing a case. When the department number equals 401, then take the salary amount and times it times 1.1. When the department number is null, take the salary amount and times it by 0.85. And so if it's neither one of these, if it's 402, just put null. Don't put anything. And then call that, we do end as bonus. So here are the statements. If it's this, put that. If that doesn't work, look for it and see if the department number is not there at all. If it is, then do this. If neither one of these are true, don't put anything, and then call the column bonus. So let's take a look at how Access handles it, because Access has to be different. Access does if statement to do case statements. So if we look at this select statement, we have course number, and then we say if the term equals SP 2018, put spring 2018, else put fall 2017, end as term description. As you can see, in my opinion, this is a lot more convoluted. I prefer this because to me it's a little bit, it almost reads a little bit better. When this equals that, then do this. When this equals that, do that. This is divided by commas. So if you put the wrong order in, you're going to get the wrong result. So if we look at this and we run it, we get each one of these, the results back from that. So instead of Spain, if we look at our course table, we can see that it's SP 218, and then all we've done is just spell it out. Another example of valued would be the student table. And again, we're pulling last name and we're saying if the first name equals John, put Jonathan. And then this is how we nest another statement in. So instead of doing this, where we say another when, in Access, you just put in another if statement. So we're saying if the first name equals John, put Jonathan. If the first name equals Cindy, put Cynthia. Else, just put the first name and just put it as full name. So if we look at this, we run down. I thought we had a John. Yeah, so John here is now Jonathan, and Cindy is now Cynthia. And then we also have another Jonathan for John before. So those are two examples of valued statements with Access, and that's how we would do that. So again, if we look at this, it's an if statement, condition, result, condition, result, else this. That's the end all of if nothing else works, this is what you put. And it could be null. You could just have a space. It could be nothing. In this case, we just put first name. So let's look at the second type of case statement. This one is called the search form. So really we're looking for any of our results that are that match the criteria that we're looking for. So we're looking for a result. Again, you can reference any operator. It can be equal, greater than as well. We can reference multiple columns. Can be used to test null conditions, and you can do this again with like statements, as we've talked about before. If you're not really sure exactly how it's stored, and or there can be some variation, you can use the like statement. But you want to be cautious, because if you don't think of everything that it could be like, you might miss some stuff. And again, if you use the null statement, is null, if the user has put a space in it, you will not get that field back, even though it looks like null. So let's look how ANSI SQL handles this. So this is, we're going to pull from the department table, budget amount, manager employee number, and then we're going to do a case when department name is like, so it contains support anywhere in there. It would have to, it could have something before it, it could have something after it, but as long as it has support in there, then the budget amount, we're going to times it by 3. Or when the manager employee number is in one of these 3, so it's one of these 3 numbers, then the budget amount times 2. Else, nothing. Just give me the budget amount. And then we take it, we're also going to put it as a decimal point with 2 decimal places after that. Total of 10 characters. So this is a data type that we've talked about. We're going to call it new budget from the department table. So as always, Access handles it differently, but it is like it's the same as before with the ifs. So this time we're going to select from the customer table. We're going to do phone number. We're doing if the phone number has 555 anywhere in it, put down CA for California. If it has 444, put Florida. 333, Pennsylvania. 222, New Jersey. Call the column state. Now, another reason I don't like the way Access handles this is the parentheses. So I have to count these parentheses, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then I have to put 4. So those are 4 open parentheses. I have to put 4 closed parentheses. So if it's doesn't have one of these numbers, if it was 111, it would put state, and then I'm calling the column state. So if we take a look at that, we look at the telephone number, and it gives me the California, the Florida. So again, we're searching for something. If you want to think of it that way, we're searching for these numbers in order to meet the criteria to put into our field. So let's look at one last example. We're looking at the student table here, last name, course number, grade, and then we're saying if the course number is in one of these two, Biology 400 or CIS 500, take the grade and add 0.5 to the grade. So if they got a 3, they now get a 3.5. And then if the course number is like, so anywhere it contains PSY, add a full grade point to it. So if it was a 3, it's now a 4.0. From, if not, just give it the grade. So if it's not one of these courses, just give it the grade. And then just call it new grade is a column. So we joined statement, the student table to the enrollment table. Notice we did right join. So what we're saying is it has to be in this table. We're only showing student records that match the enrollment. And then we do where E-grade is not null. We're doing that because we don't want to pull any students that don't have a grade. Now, in real life, you probably just put the enrollment table in front of the student table. So if we look at that, so the CIS 500, it was 2.2. We added 0.5 to 2.7. Same with up here, these grades, 4.5. I don't know how you get a 4.5 GPA, but just for our examples here. So that is case statements. That is how Access handles case statements. And that ends our 4th week. So thank you very much, and we will end it here, and I will see you next week.